Well, I figure this is either going to be the longest nerd hole or the shortest nerd.
Shortest. Yeah. Planning on shortest. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Nerd Holes. So we just finished Secret Invasion last week. Well, this week. We're still in this week, kind of. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
we last week our intro was a little bit more fun, whimsical. We pretended to be animal scroll things. It was fun. This week we're in no mood for jokes. As that
Nope.
yeah. So last time we were pretty like hopeful. I would say we were kind of hopeful
Yeah.
towards like maybe this will pick up, maybe this gets better, maybe it ends better. And
Yeah.
I liked the first half. You did not really enjoy the first half.
It was like middle. I was basically just hoping it was going to be better as it went on.
You were more or less of a fan of you didn't like seeing Nick Fury as like this old kind of out of touch guy.
Yeah. Which was my fear was at the end of this series, they were just going to be like, oh, yeah, no, he was old and out of touch and never, he's bad at his job. And I was like, yeah, but if at the end of the series they just retroactively are like, no, that was all a ruse. He knew what was going on
Yeah.
the whole time. I would have been fine with it, but
Yeah. I know. And we kind of got that and other stuff. Which you because to me, like
it's
the middle half, the story was good. I kind of liked where the story was going. I was interested to see where it pans out.
yeah, of course, yeah.
And then by the last episode, it just felt like such a rushed job.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we're gonna get into like full spoilers. There's no point of talking about like nitpicking like little things here and there. I
Right.
this is odd for me because I'm like the Marvel fanboy. And
Yeah.
in our last episode we kind of were talking negatively about some storylines and some stuff that's coming out, but
Right.
I honestly I haven't I was watching this and I was like, am I tired? Am I in a bad mood? Am I just like not in the mood for this today? And then like I talked to you 2 days later and you were just like, no, no. And then I went online and it was like, yes, yes, this is bad. Okay, I got it. I had to like come out of this like cocoon of like, no, it's Marvel. It's got to be good. Why would why would all these people sign on if it wasn't going to be? But it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And
Yep.
honestly, I haven't been as disappointed with like a Marvel movie since Ben Affleck's Daredevil, and that's saying something because that movie is atrocious. And this is the first time for us, I would say that like you and I are on like the popular opinion train,
I
like
would
the
definitely say
majority
so.
opinion.
Yeah.
Because we went to see Ant-Man, remember, and we were like, I don't understand why
Yeah.
everybody hates this movie.
Yeah. Same.
But now
Yeah.
it's like we see this and then you go online and it's like,
That's
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
It's
we're with you.
everywhere.
We're with you. Yeah, it's bad. And I haven't like dug too deeply into it, but I just keep seeing stuff is getting delayed and pushed out and rearranged, and
Yeah. Well, the writer's strike is just
it's affecting a lot of things.
like everything. Yeah. Or not the writer. Yeah. I mean, the writer's strike, but
Yeah,
sorry.
and the
I
actor
what I
strike
meant
doesn't help
was,
you.
yeah, strike.
Yeah. So I think must have been the only like three white writers that were left worked on the show before.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
But what I kept saying right to you was like Samuel L. Jackson would not like be on board with this show if he read the script and it just sucked, you know? But I don't think he
it
had a
must be
choice.
like heavily edited or was like rewritten last minute or something. For him, as I was reading as the headline, they were like, this is like his thing, right? Because everything else, he's like the C character in the movie. It's
Mhm.
like he's always like the background, like side person in the film, and then now this is like his thing, and it falls so flat. And it's like at first I was like, why does it fall flat? Doesn't Shouldn't this be good? Like, shouldn't like a thrilling, you don't know who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, like spy thing be like really captivating?
Yeah, it should.
And it ends up being like, hey, when is this going to be done? Like, when's this ending?
Yeah, and did you so what did we yeah, so the last three,
Hmm.
did you feel that way like leading up to the finale?
Um,
Was it a
I
chore?
forget.
Was the
No, I remember the episode where, uh, spoilers, Talos dies, and like
yeah.
him and Talos like attack the convoy. Well, they don't attack the convoy. They try to rescue the president while the convoy is being attacked by Russians.
Hmm.
And the fake Rhodey is just inside the thing waiting. I remember when that episode happened, and it was supposed to be this big thing that like Rhodey was a scroll, and like, look, he's terrible, and blah blah blah. I was just kind of that. I remember that episode. I was like, it didn't do anything for me,
Yeah.
and I was really bummed that Talos was dead. And again, just like Maria Hill, I was like, well, maybe these people won't be dead because Nick Fury's a like he's in on it. Like it's all a ruse. And then five happened, and five was like interesting because it felt like it was going somewhere. It felt
Hmm.
like it was like, oh, here it is. And then six, like you said, it just all of a sudden it was like the thing we were laughing about the other day or the other week, where it's like, oh no, we only got 26 minutes. Like, wrap it up.
Yeah. I think it was the
And
shortest episode in the series.
it probably was. I haven't really looked, but I remember, like I said to you, I got up to, I paused it to get up to do something, and I came
That's
back
already a
and I
bad
started
sign.
it. Yeah, and I came back and I looked at it, and it was only like only a few things had happened in the episode. Not that much had happened, and
Hmm.
I looked at it and it was like 33 minutes or left, and I'm like, well, I know five or six of that is the credits at the end of the movie, at the
Yeah.
end of the show, like, and I was like, so there's literally 28 minutes of content left, and you have so much to cover, and like make sense of it, and it really honestly did.
Yeah.
It focused on the to me, it focused on the weirdest thing it focused on was his relationship with his wife. It's like,
Hmm.
it's fine. I'm not like anti Nick Fury having a relationship. Like, who, I don't care, but it just was it was so weird to have that scene where his wife and Gaia are fighting this team, and then cut to, and he's calling her because, but
Yeah, that was weird.
it's not really him. It's Gaia calling him, I think, or something.
I don't
It's
know.
like,
Yeah, that's the other thing. Who knows?
because
And it's one of those
I don't
stupid
know.
things. It's one of those stupid things too, where it's like Gaia goes to Nick Fury's wife and says, like, "Hey, so I'm not here to kill you, but like I need you to help me bury my dad." And they go off on this
Oh
whole
yeah,
side mission to like bury Talos and do like the proper like scroll funeral thing. And in the
yeah,
meantime, like she's being hunted because like they know
yeah,
that like she didn't kill Fury like she was supposed to.
right.
And then she just goes back to her house. So that's what happens in the show that I kept seeing is like characters would do these things where you're like, why are they doing this thing? And they know the
Right,
audience is asking like, why wouldn't you just like, why wouldn't you call the Avengers? Why wouldn't you do this? Why would you do this? Why did she go back to her house? And
right,
then they explain it. The character explains it like, oh, I this is my house. I've lived in this house for 60 years. I'm not just gonna leave my house. I was like,
right.
okay. And the same thing with Nick. It was like, hey, so why didn't you just call like anybody? Like anybody,
Right.
you know?
Like
And
literally
he's
anybody.
like, nah, well, see, this is something that I started when I was like young in Shield and I basically you
Right.
learn that like these scrolls were like Shield agents and they would go around and help him do stuff. So it's like, no, this is my responsibility. It's like, what? Why? What? I don't understand why.
And it doesn't, and that's the thing too, is it's like it's like the whole series is about them talking about how Captain Marvel and Nick Fury like let the scrolls down, like how much you've let us down and
Yeah.
you haven't helped us get a new home. And it's like I get it, but literally it's been 5 years since you've even mentioned the scrolls, and you showed them one
Hmm.
other time, which was a throwaway Spider-Man scene in
Yeah.
Spider-Man to be like, look, hey, they weren't really them, it was scrolls, and
And
it
that
was
was
like a joke.
Talos. Wasn't that Talos anyway?
Right. I think it was Talos and Gaia. I just think, well, I don't know that for
I
sure,
think it
but
was his
I think
wife.
so. Maybe it was his wife. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this weird thing to like have this big, like, okay, we need to do this big conclusion on the scroll thing. Remember the scrolls from that
Like,
from
right.
Captain Marvel that nobody saw because nobody likes Brie Larson? Like, yeah, I do remember vaguely. And
Yeah, I don't know. It's
that's kind
just
of
like
when
they
I
didn't
got
build to
upset.
anything.
And that's when I got upset was that before the season finale, I think it was Kevin Feige came out and he's like, yeah, so the new Marvel's movie is a
Hmm.
continuation of this. And you're like, what? Like, okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
great. And then you watch the season finale and you're like, I don't care. I could care less about the
Right.
story of the scrolls now. I don't care about it. I
Yeah, I don't
don't
even
care
know
about it.
how it would relate to it. And it's also like,
Doesn't matter.
what does it matter? Right. Yeah.
Here's the other thing too. Nobody watched Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus. Nobody watched it.
No, not that too many. No,
So like don't
I
care.
watched it, but yeah, it wasn't,
Yeah,
it didn't do anything.
I didn't watch it. I said no, thank you. So remember, I think it was like last summer, maybe the summer before, where you and I were talking, and it was like everything that Marvel was putting out on Disney Plus, like you would see the trailer and you're like, I don't care. Yeah, whatever. Then
Yeah,
we
yeah,
watched it
yeah.
and we're like, this is so good. Like this show is so
Yeah.
good. I remember Loki. I saw the trailer for Loki and I saw
Right.
Owen
Me
Wilson
too.
and I
Yeah.
was like, no thanks, you know. But then you watch it and you're like, this is
Yeah.
amazing. This show is so good. I did the same thing with Hawkeye. Like, I don't care about Hawkeye, and he's not my favorite.
Right. Right.
You watch
Right.
Hawkeye, and I was like, this is really enjoyable. They brought back like
Yeah.
all these cool characters,
Yeah.
and it was great,
Yeah.
you know? Even like She-Hulk. Like I know a lot of people don't like She-Hulk. I
I like that.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun and I really like seeing like Daredevil in it, you know?
To me, that, and I don't, did we do a She-Hulk thing? I don't think we did,
No.
but the thing for me with She-Hulk was like, there's a lot of stuff with it that's like, sure, like you can get upset about it. But the thing that I think was the greatest about it was it broke away from like everything that the Marvel universe does. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything is constantly like Secret Invasion. It's introduction of good guy. Doesn't matter if they're new or old. There's a bad guy involved. Bad guy things. Oh, at the end, the bad guy and the good guy fight, and then good guys like, hey, what
Yeah.
about this thing that's going to
Yeah.
happen in the movies? That's all. That's all of them. Every single, even the ones we like, it's always that good guy, bad guy, and then she at the end, literally at the end, it starts to happen. She's now going to fight the weird like bully online bully guy that and he injects himself with Hulk DNA.
Oh,
He becomes the Hulk, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, right," and then Hulk shows up and Abomination shows up, and it's like this is exactly what
Yeah,
the show
what you
would have been.
expected.
It's exactly what you would have thought. And then she breaks the fourth wall and goes down this entire path, and then just basically is like, "Nah." And that's what people didn't like, is that there was no,
Yeah,
they built up to something, like there was going to be payoff, and then her payoff was, "That's all stupid." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you." Because
yeah,
that's all it is. Like, I'd rather see something that different than just the same thing over
yeah,
and over and over
yeah. It
again.
was different. It was different. Yeah, no, I thought I thought that whole ending was like crazy and funny,
Yeah,
and
I loved it.
I
I
don't want to see
literally,
another giant CGI battle because this is what you get when you get a giant CGI battle at the end.
exactly, exactly.
It's awful.
I know it's a hill to fall on my sword on, but
Well,
I I definitely think her breaking the fourth wall, She Hulk breaking the fourth wall, is just as defining as Endgame.
mm,
It is something that the MCU movies have never done, which
yeah,
is just completely go off the rails
no.
and basically be like, everything we've established doesn't matter.
Well, that's what Deadpool's claim to fame always was in the comics. Was like
Right,
he knew he was a comic book character. He broke the fourth wall all the time. He went into other universes.
right.
So we don't have that. We don't have that. So that's why like She-Hulk
Yeah,
was like so like entertaining because you're like, oh man, this is interesting. Like it's a show that knows it's a show.
right, right.
And not to mention, dude, they brought back Abomination from like the Hulk movie. Like, how awesome was that? Like,
Right,
it was
right,
so
right.
good.
Like made the Edward Norton movie like interesting
Yeah,
and different,
it was
right?
so
Yeah, I know.
cool. It was so cool that he
Yeah,
was back.
I know. I agree.
And the other guy too, the Sorcerer Supreme. I always forget his name,
Oh,
but
Juan.
yeah, Juan. He was great in it too. Like I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was great.
And then what's his, is it Charlie Cox that plays
Yeah,
Daredevil? Yeah.
Daredevil. Yeah,
So he shows up again, right? Because he
he
has that
didn't.
scene in
No. Oh, yeah, in Spider Man. Yeah, yeah,
he has that scene in Spider-Man,
yeah,
but then he shows up in She-Hulk again.
yeah. Like actually, as Daredevil, not just
Yeah,
Matt
as
Murdock,
Daredevil. Yeah.
lawyer. Right. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, obviously like in Spider-Man he's Matt Murdock, but it's like it's yeah.
yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
it was great.
him showing up in She-Hulk in like the yellow and red suit, like original suit, like I just want like another like Marvel to take like what Netflix built upon
Right, right,
and
right.
just build upon it, you know?
Yeah,
But we seem to be in this weird era now where it's like stuff is bad and I don't want to get into like the feminism stuff, but
no, I know what you mean, though. Yeah,
it seems like the more you get into it, it's like you can't have these main male characters like do
yeah.
stuff anymore. You know what I mean? So
Well,
this
it's a
show
thing
does
where,
this thing. No, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's just a thing where it like the thing that they keep proving to the people of the masses who don't have a brain cell about them, who are like, oh, it's a woman, I can't watch this show. What MCU is doing, these writers, these producers are like, okay, we're gonna pause on white men all the time, and we're gonna do stuff with people of culture and women. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? But what happens is not all the time, but most of the time, maybe 50, 60% of the time, they write terrible, terrible things for these characters.
Yeah,
The story isn't
unrealistic.
interesting. The character isn't believable. You're not interested in their thing. And then they rush this thing out. And then you're like, okay. Like,
Yeah, and
yeah,
everybody
this
hates
could
it.
have, right.
Everybody hates it because the character is badly written. The character is a terrible person, and then you say something bad about it, and they say, "Well, it's all these guys that live in their basement. They hate women."
Right.
Like, no, I don't hate women. Like, the MCU is built upon like strong female characters, and there are strong female
Right.
characters, but they were
Yeah.
written well.
Yeah.
The difference is like that
It's like
now
the
the stuff is just kind of crapped out, and like all these characters don't have
yeah,
any
exactly.
backstory that you care about. I mean, we just talked
No.
about Dial of Destiny. Helena Shaw
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah.
worst character ever written.
Written,
Just
yeah,
terribly written.
yeah,
Have nothing to do with the actress, nothing to do with her character is awful. And they push
yep,
her out there to be this new like pro women, pro everything, women can do it. It's like, yeah, they can.
yeah,
You got to write them well. Just write them good. Write them like a human being. Write them like
right,
it's your
yeah,
fault. It's
because
your fault, Hollywood, that you write women as awful characters. Like obviously you're the
right,
one saying that women are terrible. Like not me. I'm not doing it.
right, exactly. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, you look at this as a perfect example. Secret Invasion. It's a black male lead show,
Yeah.
and it is terrible. And it's like it is not Samuel L. Jackson. He is phenomenal. He is like
Yeah.
I think he's an Academy Award winning actor.
Yeah.
Like what? This is
Yeah.
what you gave this guy.
Yeah.
Like you have this guy in your you know whatever you want to call it, like your roster, and this is the
Hmm.
thing you're going to
And
put
this is
him in.
what
Like, are
this is how
you
you write them.
joking? Then you have like Don Cheadle
Yeah.
and Olivia Colman, who plays the British lady there.
I
That is
like
like
her.
she's fantastic in the show.
Yeah.
I love her in the series, but
She could
it's
be she could
awful.
work for MI6 like in a James Bond movie,
Yeah,
right? I mean, she's amazing.
absolutely. I'd even entertain the idea of her playing James Bond. She was great. I don't know. She was
She's like
hilarious. I
super
don't
she's
even
what Nick Fury is supposed to be. She's way ahead of
exactly
everybody.
exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
When she
it was
goes
so
into that like
frustrating.
slaughterhouse and she interrogates that scroll
Yeah,
dude, like, oh my, I love that. That scene was so good. But
yeah,
they speaking of Bond, that they do this thing with Samuel L. Jackson and Don Cheadle. Remember when Don Cheadle fires him and Rhodey
oh yeah,
fires Nick Fury?
yeah.
It's this weird thing where they play into like the black thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And he's like, hey, you're not gonna, us brothers got to stick together.
yeah.
And
Right.
they just kept beating on that like theme.
Yeah.
And Don Cheadle, he basically says like what the audience is thinking. It was
Like you're not my
like you have
brother,
these two
basically.
guys. You have Nick Fury and Rhodey, who rose to the top of their ranks like on
Right.
their own, not
Right.
because like they were friends with another black guy that got them in. They
Right.
rose.
Right.
They had to fight harder in a white society. They had to fight harder and get to where they are.
Yeah.
And then they kind of make like Nick Fury be like, "Oh, come on, man. You're my brother. You're gonna help me out." It's like he wouldn't talk like this. So weird.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't like that. I didn't like how they were writing that.
Yeah. I hear you. No, I totally agree.
And the like seeing Rhodey, like Rhodey was a scroll, was interesting. It was kind of cool. But it was this big thing where they're like, hey, so somebody in the MCU has been a scroll the whole time. And you're like, man, that could be a really interesting concept. And to take Rhodey, it's kind of like the lowest hanging fruit, on the tree. It's
Yeah.
like very easy
Yeah.
to write
Right.
him out.
Right. It'd be like, oh man, can you imagine? Happy Hogan was a scroll this whole time. You'd be like, oh,
Oh
okay.
man,
You
that's
got me.
crazy. Wow. Yeah, no kidding, right? It's like it's not really anything.
I would find it more interesting if they were like, hey, Bucky Barnes is still locked in a frozen locker somewhere.
Yeah.
And the guy that they found is a scroll. And he's been a scroll the entire time. Like,
Man.
it's just like he's still in some Hydra thing locked up. And you're like, what? That's nuts. And then Captain, it's like, oh, all this Civil War stuff. Like, it really wasn't Bucky. And it's like this
Oh
huge
yeah.
thing. Like, it would have just been like mind blowing, right?
All your
But
good guy characters were on the wrong side the whole time.
exactly. Yeah. You could have really just spun itself on its head.
The other thing
And
too is that this was like their plan, the Skrulls plan. They planned it for like 20 years. Like this is what they're gonna do. And then they finally attack like the president's car and get like outbeat by like two guys.
just normal
It's
people.
like, wow, you guys really suck. This is why
Yeah.
you can't have your own planet, because you can't even do it. And that's the other thing
Yeah.
too, is like you're telling me in the entire vacuum of space where the Guardians rule and
Yeah.
Captain Marvel is out there, and you have all this stuff. There is not one planet the scroll can go live on.
No.
No. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense. No, you're right.
Yeah.
And then and then the end, it ends with Nick Fury being like, hey, so this planet, they said that they're going to talk about maybe taking you guys
Yeah.
in as refugees. Like, great. That's good. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
What?
So this is the well. Let's talk about the bad thing at the end.
Oh, no.
Then
Oh,
we'll
all of
talk
it?
about
So when it
yeah.
starts. So when
So
episode
when it
6
started.
starts.
So the whole I was telling you the whole time he's Nick Fury, quote unquote, is walking through the nuclear compound thing. I was like, this better not be Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Like this better be some scroll. This better be Talos, is what I was hoping.
That's what I wanted to, but he's a guy. Well,
But he's dead.
Talos is a man too.
It will be yes, sure. And I was like, okay. So the whole thing, the pills, he's shaking the pills, all that stuff. Okay, whatever. And there's a secret person. It's like the British lady, and you're not seeing who's tranquilizing the other people in the hospital. Okay, whatever. The machine goes off, and it shows all the names of heroes and villains who are now, the harvest thing that he talks about. Okay. So he's still Nick Fury. Gravix punches him and he grabs him. And I was like, oh, I'm like, well, okay, maybe Captain America, Winter Soldier, DNA gives him like enhanced human strength. Okay. And then he
I
was
wasn't
like,
thinking that.
Hulk arm. And I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm totally out. I'm 100% out. I immediately don't care about this. But then it cut to, and it was Gaia. And I was like, oh, okay. Like,
At least that makes
okay.
more sense, right? Yeah.
I was happy with it. They cut back to Nick Fury being at the hospital and and that honestly, that scene
I like
with
that.
fake Rhodey and the president, like all of that was really good.
Yeah, that was all good.
And
I really like when he finally shoots Rhodey,
yeah,
and it's
yeah. And
just
then the
like
president's like, oh,
there's just like purple blood all over. I love it.
and I was like, yeah, okay, great, okay, fine. I don't like the I, I I don't like the arm changing that thing that much. But it was kind of
No.
just shifting between like Call Obsidian and like Korg and the Hulk. And I
Yeah.
was like, and I said kind of what you said earlier to myself. I was like, does having Bruce Banner DNA like does that magically give you Hulk powers? I'm like, I guess it worked for Jennifer and She-Hulk. I'm like, maybe that's how that works. But the rest, that was my debatable thing. Like, there's room for debate here. And
But
Call Obsidian and Core, right?
has like the same like DNA that like Bruce
Yeah,
does.
yeah, like
So it's like
genetics, yeah,
special because look at what happens with Abomination. He goes like crazy.
right. And I'm like, okay, like, and I'll tell you what it was. That really, really bad. I don't know if you can probably find it, but there was
Oh, it's all
it
over the
was like a
internet.
really bad rendering of like I think it was Drax's arm.
Drax, yeah. And it's like
And
it's
I
like her
was
tiny body and it's like this big arm and then it's like curled up and it looks so
curled up.
like forced
Oh,
perspective. It's so bad.
and I said, okay, that's Drax's arm. And I was like, why does it have the tattoos? But I guess that's the only way you'd know it was
Yeah.
Drax's arm. Like, okay. So I wasn't really upset with that. But then the two things happened. Two other people that she does. She does Ebony Maw.
Mm-hmm.
And she does like the oh, and then the right, yeah. And I was like, I don't think his DNA makes him magical or whatever you want to call it. Like,
No, I think he had to
it's a
learn that.
training thing, right? Like Doctor Strange had to, and the Ravager Guardian guy from the movies. He's like a red fish man. He does like the smiley face.
Yeah.
in the second Guardians movie. It's like they have to learn all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, so that doesn't make any sense. And I think he also she had rings, like when he did it, like the rings were on his finger
Yeah,
too. I
yeah, yeah,
don't quote me on that, but I think
yeah.
so.
No, it was. Yeah, it was. Because how else would you
And
know
I
who it
was
is?
like, yeah. And then the Captain Marvel thing happened, and I was like, I don't think that works either. Like she got her powers through like the Tesseract engine. Like that's what gave her the powers, not her DNA. And I was like, Is that really how it works? Like, if she spits on you, like, can I now fly? Like, it doesn't. I was just like, what happens?
You're asking a
And it's like
lot of questions.
they don't like to overly explain that machine, so you're just supposed to
No.
be like, oh, science machine, DNA. Of course, that's how things work.
Yeah.
It was. I
It's
mean, it was just
so
awful. I was just
it's one of
waiting
those
for that
things
scene to
where
end. Go ahead.
if you spent a lifetime trying to find the harvest and it has all of the
Mm-hmm.
Avengers DNA and all you can show for it is you can change your arms, that is a really sucky life mission.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing too is that in a couple episodes before the season finale, Gravik uses he uses Groot
Yeah.
arm. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, because
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw on the computer, in like the third or fourth episode, right, where it's like it says Groot and it goes through all his like biological things or whatever. And you
Yeah.
see it on the monitor. And then he kind of uses it, and you're like, okay, that I get, that's fine. Like
Yeah.
that's interesting. But then it comes to that final battle, and it's
Yeah.
like they use the same three things over and over. And then they kind of like realize that they can
Right.
fly because like Captain Marvel's DNA. It was like, wouldn't all you need
Right.
would be Captain Marvel? It's
Like,
like,
yeah.
picture this. DC, a bad guy gets all the DNA from all DC characters. Right? He gets
Right.
Superman, he gets Batman, he gets Flash. Then the end
Right.
battle happens. The end battle happens, and he uses like batarangs.
Oh.
And then he like flies. He has like Superman's flying. It's like, wouldn't you just use like
That's it.
Superman's laser eyes and just melt the dude?
No,
No,
can't do that.
batarang,
No.
batarang, shark
Lasso
spray.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just
Well, the
was
thing too, I
absolutely
was thinking like
ridiculous.
she blasts him, right? And he makes the hole in him. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, okay, there's so many heroes on that field that can heal really fast. Like,
yeah,
why doesn't she have Nebula built? Like, why doesn't he have Nebulas? Like cybernetics. Like
nanites.
they have other things.
Yeah, you might as well
It's
get.
just like,
You might as
yeah,
well have gotten. You might as well have gotten like nanite, like Iron Man suit from like Tony Stark's DNA. If that's where you're going with this stupid thing.
right. And I also was like, okay, Tony Stark, perfect example. I was like, oh, so now they're just geniuses, right? They're geniuses because
Well,
that's what
Hulk
his
too.
DNA is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. His DNA is
It's like
intelligence. Yeah. Who's
what?
the
Where was the
she?
tactical
She
thing of? Yeah, it
she
was
like
just
runs towards him and disappears too.
a ghost. It's Ghost from
Oh,
the second Ant Man movie.
get out of here!
Because
Ridiculous.
she fought in Endgame. Remember seeing her fight in Endgame?
No.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was my favorite scene. So that's what I kept thinking about all this stupid DNA. They're like, hey, so we went around and we collected all this DNA. You're like, okay, cool. And then the
Yeah,
final battle happens and it's like Drax and Obsidian. You're like, where did they get this DNA? Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I couldn't wrap my mind around because I'm picturing it's Nick Fury and it's the Skrulls and it's Shield. I'm picturing Avengers to like Endgame is where my brain
okay,
is. Right.
okay, fair.
But then you told me like, oh no, so they all come and fight on the
Yeah,
ruins
yeah.
of upstate New York.
So
If yeah.
so that scene. Remember when Captain America is standing on the time thing and he's about to take the stones back.
Yeah.
and in the background is like the battle, and there's a big helicopter like picking up like a cargo box and like
Oh,
flying away.
yeah.
They're insinuating that like that stuff in the background is like when they were collecting all that,
Hmm.
which is fine. Like
Yeah.
it's fine that they're doing that. Like
Interesting.
okay, whatever. But it's just like I would have rather they
You
should
would
have just
think,
stuck with people who were just like Korg, like Korg and Groot. It's like pick guys who are just that's just what they are, like Call Obsidian. That he's just a big, strong guy. Like that's his DNA. Not like, oh, they have this weird mutation or this outside source gave
well,
them powers, so therefore they have it too. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
but the other thing too is like he didn't even care about that. The only reason he wanted the harvest in the first place was because of Carol Danvers,
Yes.
because of Captain Marvel. And then he doesn't even use any of her stuff until like the very end of the fight. But
Yeah.
that was all he wanted from the harvest. Anyway, he didn't care about any of his other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just it just hurts my brain, and I just keep remembering back to Far From Home. No, not Far From Home. Homecoming,
Mm.
where Adrian Toomes is like collecting all of like the
Oh,
alien from from
yeah.
New York City
The
battle,
Chitari. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just how much better that whole concept is.
Yeah.
He's collecting
Yes.
all this metal from the Chitari. He uses it for his suit. He gets shut down by Tony. Tony
He's
Stark starts oh, what was the name of the business?
damage control comes and takes
Damage
him. I
control.
don't think it was I don't think it was a Tony thing. I think it was a Shield thing. But yeah.
No, it was damage control, but it was funded by Tony. That's why
Okay.
he's
Yeah. That
mad.
I think.
That's why he's mad because now it's just the billionaire making more money on collecting material, and little guys like him can't make
Sure.
anything. So that's why he builds his suit so much.
Yeah.
It's just so
Yeah. He
much better.
reverse engineers. Like yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is like there are things that have happened in major movies, like Avengers movies, that you can pull from for
Yeah.
new bad guys, right? It's there, it's all there.
Absolutely.
But then to take this and be like,
Yeah.
oh no, 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 no. So these scrolls that were pretending to be humans with Nick Fury, they all worked for Shield. They went around with little ink droppers, and they're like, oh, there's some blood right there. I wonder who this is. Oh, there's more blood over here. Oh, put this in here. Like, why would they do that? Nick Fury didn't learn his lesson. Remember from the Tesseract when everybody was mad at him on in the first Avengers movie that like,
Right.
hey, so you're
Right.
taking this Tesseract thing to build a weapon, and we don't really appreciate that.
Right.
So all these years later, he's still looking for like a backup plan to the Avengers. Like he needs all their DNA
Yeah.
for what?
So that he can have all the heroes he wants.
And he does that, and then he
You know
goes
what
and
it
he
is?
runs away to space and lives in space anyway.
It's Disney's way of being like, what if we want another Captain America? Here's a drop of Captain America
Oh,
DNA, and now
shut up.
he's Captain America.
And why do they put all the DNA into one tube?
I have no idea.
Does that even make any sense to you? It's like
No.
I pictured when the tombstone thing is cool. When the tombstone opens and like, he's got the little jar. I literally thought that
Yeah.
was just like Captain Marvel's
Of course.
DNA. And he puts it in a thing, and he puts in a little reader, and it's like, boop, boop, and it's like Captain America, Hulk, Thor. It's like they're just all blended together. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's how
Speaking of
DNA.
Thor, can Gaia and Gravik now pick up Mjolnir because they have Thor
Yes.
DNA in them?
Yeah, the other gods now.
Well,
so
they got Captain
stupid.
America. He was worthy too. So you know.
Well, that's completely. Oh my god, it's so bad. Oh, it was just so bad. You're right. The CGI was just unbelievably awful in that battle, and it lasted like 3 seconds. I was like, you have Gravik's this great bad guy all the way to the end, right? He's like menacing.
Yeah.
He's got a goal. He's gonna finish his goal.
Yeah.
And then he gets that final battle, and she like shoots like through his chest, and then he's just dead.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's over.
Whew.
Whew, that was close. That was close. couldn't do that before he,
I'm
before
glad
he
he
turned
didn't
into a
have the
super
same
scroll.
abilities. Yeah. It's like, I'm glad he didn't have the same
Think,
abilities I did. Otherwise, that would have been
man,
really close.
I should have just shot him when he was a scroll. That would have been a lot easier. God. That's the other thing too. Is like, of course, it was
So,
her. Like,
yeah.
I get that it was her because like they were like childhood friends. They grew up together.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I get that. But it's like the night that she
yeah. Like,
betrays
yeah,
him
I didn't
and
have a
runs
problem
out of
being
there.
her.
She
Yeah,
runs out of the
yeah, yeah.
compound. She betrays him. He shoots her, and she's a super scroll already because she went through the machine when nobody was watching. I don't. And she's
Yeah, and
still
she
like,
got
yeah.
extremist DNA in her or whatever from Iron Man 3.
Oh, is that what that's supposed to be? Oh my God, you're right.
Yep.
Oh God, that's awful. It's all these callbacks to stuff that like nobody like remembers either.
Yeah.
Like, so that movie in particular, like Iron Man 3, that movie is not my is like the bottom tier like Iron Man movie. So they're pulling all this
Yeah.
stuff from like bottom tier movies to make this bottom tier TV show. It's almost beautiful. It's almost beautiful.
Yeah, it's fitting, really. Yeah. But here's the best part. So that
Yeah.
happened, and I was like, okay, I want to throw up, but I'm going to keep watching. And it
5 minutes left.
happens, and I'm like, and so I, it's like, all right. And the whole thing with the president, and then the president's like, you know
Kill
what?
everybody.
We're sick of these scrolls. Kill them all.
I just
And
learned
then it
about these
cuts,
things. Eradicate them. Eradicate them all. And you have
and
all
he's
these
like,
scrolls that are
listen,
like, hey, so we're just going to pretend to keep being who we are. I mean, why? How would they know? How would they?
yeah,
Why wouldn't you
how
just
will he
immediately
know? How
leave?
would he know?
How would they know? How would they know? They're gonna know. How would they know?
Right? So then it cuts to like insanely, like I was like, you're showing this on an MCU show. It was like
Yeah,
they cut to graphic, like news coverage of like gunmen just running in and like murdering people. And
shooting
I was
people.
just like,
Yeah,
yeah, like that's what you're doing.
they love
Then
it.
it cuts back to the president, and he's just like, get it done, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, where's this gonna go? And then
Nowhere.
Fury's on the phone, and he's like, you're a disgusting pig, and I hate everything you did. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm the president. And he says, yeah, but you're disgusting. And then he's like, I gotta go kiss my wife, and that's it. And that's what the show ends. Are you gonna let the Avengers handle this? Are you gonna stay here on Earth and make sure that the president, who's clearly out of his mind, he says every alien not born, not like natural to the planet, is to be murdered, and he's like, "See you later." Can't wait for the
So
Marvels to
yeah.
continuation of that story
Well, they're gonna kill the
of
president
him
at the end.
smooching his wife. What a great hangover.
Okay, so here's the thing. The entire show, you're led to believe like, okay, these scroll, they're crazy. They're on the warpath. This Gravik guy, he means business. He's nuts. He's nuts.
Right? He's crazy.
All the way to the end. All the way to the end. Nick Fury's supposed to come back. This is Nick Fury's thing. He's supposed to come back. He's supposed to fix this whole scroll situation. He's supposed to,
Fix it.
make it right. Talos' whole thing was that like he didn't want to kill any of the scroll. He wanted all the scroll to be alive. That was his goal. He wanted like peace on Earth. Like you said, 3 minutes of the show left. 3 minutes of the show left. The president is calling these orders. People are getting shot on news. All these scrolls are getting murdered.
And, and some of them aren't even scrolls.
No. Those 3 minutes of the end of the season are crazier and more important than the entire show. Everything that has happened from the beginning to the end means absolutely nothing. And now the Earth is in complete chaos. The Earth is in complete chaos. And now Nick Fury's like, so long. Good luck. I'm going back to space.
I can't wait to see
It was like
Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and the other lady switch bodies. What a great movie to look forward to.
he came to Earth because this was his duty. This was his duty to take care of this. And Gravik is dead, and now there's all these scrolls still on Earth that now they're in hiding even more because now they want to be eradicated by humans.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Nick's
Nobody
like,
was bothering the scrolls. That was what was happening.
bye everybody. Sorry, Talos is dead, and
The
I couldn't
first
do it. Bye.
5.5 episodes, the first five and a half episodes was the scrolls being mad they don't have their own world, and Fury's like, "Sorry, I didn't do that." And then the last half of the season is like, "Well, now you're all under threat because everybody's just shooting anybody that they think are a scroll." So
the
see you
way it
later.
ends, it makes like if this ended like this a while ago, and then Secret Invasion was the continuation of this ending, I would
Oh,
totally
sure.
be like, yeah, Gravik is right. Nick Fury just
Yeah,
left him, just
it's
abandoned.
insane. Yeah,
So now it's like Nick Fury became the exact thing that like Gravik thought he was. It's unbelievable. It's like I can't even believe like this is
and
how
it's like
we're
who thought this was a good idea? You know what I mean? I don't even get it. Like who sat there
I don't
and
know.
said, "Nice."
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I keep saying here's the thing, but you have this movie coming out. You have the Marvels coming out. Now it's a thing that as the writers, the producers, the CGI guys, everybody involved in the movie. They know fans don't love Brie Larson.
Right.
B, nobody watched Miss Marvel on Disney Plus. And
Right.
the other girl there from
From WandaVision, right?
yeah, she's great. People like
Yep.
her.
Yep.
But you know this. You know that this movie's already going to have low attendance. You're going to dump a bunch of money into it. And then
Yep.
you're going to make a show that's going to lead into the movie that
Yep.
fans aren't going to like or want to see. So instead of taking this show and being like, okay, here we're explaining to you why this movie is important, why you need to see this movie. This is
Yeah.
how we put people in seats in the movie theater, is this show. This show gets people excited for the movie. And then
Yeah.
you make this show. You made the show the way it is. And now not one person cares about being in the theater for the movie.
No.
You
Even
ruined
less.
it.
Even less.
Even less. Because of the show,
right.
people won't go even more.
Now having Samuel L. Jackson in the movie, I'm just kind of like, okay, what is that? Who does
I
it
don't
matter?
care. I don't care. It's sad. It's just sad. It's just a mess. It's a mess. Bring your brooms because it's a mess.
Bring your brooms.
You remember that? Galifianakis, yeah.
Yeah, and my favorite thing is it's like, well, yeah, because the Marvels are going to deal with the aftermath of this.
Nick Fury's mess.
Like you're saying, right? Nick Fury's mess and like Earth being, an absolute like terrible place now because of that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. So the main bad guy is going to be like a Skrull or the president, right? And then you look at it and it's like, oh no, it's this person playing Darben, which is a Kree person. It has nothing to do with Skrulls.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
good. I'm glad we're going back to the Kree. I love the Kree so much. Like, let's just keep doing Kree stuff. Like nobody cares about Kree. Oh boy. And it's one of those lines too, like the president said, like, hey, if you weren't like specifically born on Earth,
right,
you're dead.
You're dead.
So now it's like now you're gonna have these aliens come and like save the planet, but they're gonna be like, hey, so look, I was born on Earth, but then I was abducted to outer space.
Right.
But I was born on Earth.
Perfect example. Thor's an enemy now. He's killed.
Yeah. Peter Quill is fine. He was born on
Peter
Earth.
Quill's fine. But if any of his buddies come, like Drax or Groot,
dead.
Kill him.
Dead. Kill them off. Kill them all. We don't like aliens now.
No.
They've only helped you save the planet numerous times while you sat and did nothing, and now you're gonna.
Yeah,
I think the president's a scroll. I think he's still a scroll. That's what it
I
is.
was hoping they were going to show that, but they didn't.
No.
And the other thing too is it's like they show in the like force field, brain force field things. They show
Mm.
Rhodey and Martin Freeman's character there. I can't think of his character's name, but they
Oh,
show him, right,
yeah. What's his
Agent
name?
Ross or something.
Ross. Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, oh wow, okay, so it wasn't just like a goofy throwaway that he was that Agent Ross was like a scroll. It's like, oh, he's also been kidnapped for X amount of time.
Yeah.
And then they show the Rhodey thing, and you're like, okay, is Rhodey gonna walk? And then he doesn't. You're like, okay, so it's after Civil War. Get kidnapped after Civil War. You're like, okay. And so then it just leaves, and it's just like there is no resolution with those characters.
No. Anybody that you care about, no, they don't. You don't need to
And
explain
you're
what happens
just
to their
like,
story.
and it's like, oh, because you know the Marvels are going to comment on it, they're going to talk about it, or you know that like Thunderbolts are going to talk about it. Oh, okay, yeah, it'll be great when I get to see that
Yeah.
thing of being like,
I can't
how
wait to
long
see
was
this.
Don Cheadle a Skrull?
I can't wait to see this throwaway line about these characters I care about that doesn't matter.
Yeah, or that, yeah, even better.
So the thing too about Ross was he was in Black Panther too.
Yeah,
And his character seemed
it's
totally the same as it always is. He had no like
yeah.
different
So
motivation.
you
He was like
so
bent
you're
on
left
helping Wakanda.
right. So you're left wondering: is he in Black Panther 2? Is he a scroll? That you're just left wondering that. And it's like, okay, next time you see Rhodey, I think is in after Civil War. I think it's probably Infinity War, and it's like you're left to wonder when he's inside the Wakandan place, and like Captain America shows up, and Ross is telling him to arrest Captain America, and he hangs up on him, and he's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, is he a scroll? You're just left to wonder instead of
You
being
know,
like, oh man, we're gonna do this big reveal. He's also been kidnapped. You're like, he could have
you
just
know,
been kidnapped like
weeks
moments
ago.
before this.
Yeah.
You're right. It's like, ooh, it's like
Before
you
he
give
went to
me
go meet
no
that guy that had proof, right? It could have been it.
right.
But
It's
here's the
like,
thing: this show should have
yeah,
been fun. It should have been like, who can the whole thing, the whole lead into it was like, who can you
absolutely
trust? Who can It should have been fun
right.
now to go back and watch like Endgame
Yeah,
and Infinity
yes,
War and watch Rhodey and be like, oh, check this out. Like Rhodey
yeah,
obviously is
like
like helping them save the planet because he's a scroll and he wants the planet for himself.
yeah. It
But
would have
it's
been
not.
fun to
But
have
it's not fun
the
now because I don't
YouTube.
care.
It would have been fun to have watch new rock stars, what's his name, go back and be like, hey, now that we know that Rhodey is a scroll and this is starting from this time period, like let's go back and look at his actions and like, oh look, Rhodey is different in this time period. It's like they didn't do anything like that. They're just like,
The
who is the person that nobody care like has paid that much
Yeah,
attention
right. Like I
to,
said,
doesn't have that much going on. Oh, it's him. Let's pick him. And then that was
who
it.
would make sense to be like in a position of power in the US government and a side character that like shows up once in a while that nobody really cares about? Yeah, you got him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The days of and it's hard to say it, but the days of like minute
Well,
detail,
yeah.
little tiny things that lead up to Infinity War, those days are over.
Gone.
Gone. They're gone.
Yep.
So I think I don't know, man. I'm so like not optimistic moving forward. I really
I
feel
mean,
like
Loki's the only thing I'm looking forward to now.
yeah, I know. And that to me again yeah, that's because of him. And it's a
Yeah, and the
completely
Kang
different
storyline could be
universe.
interesting, right?
It doesn't even it's like one of those things where it's like I don't even know how that falls in or where that falls in and I don't think the writers do either, so it doesn't matter.
I think it's one of the best and worst things they ever did, which was Agents of Shield clearly doesn't connect to the Marvel universe. They've
Yeah.
just rewritten things so many times. So you can just watch Agents of Shield and be like, "Hey, cool, it's fun." Netflix show
You know.
clearly doesn't relate to the MCU, but it's their fun show. It's great. Then they're like Disney Plus. It absolutely connects to the Marvel universe. And instead of being like they're just random shows that you're enjoying because they're fun storylines, it's like, well, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this person showing up? Like, why aren't they talking about this thing? It's in the show.
Yeah.
And it's like it was the best thing to do because it made more interesting content. You get really good actors from the films doing TV series instead of like throwaway
Well,
background
yeah.
characters or brand new actors. It was great. But now they're just doing this thing where they're just like, well, how do we make money?
And they're not making money because they're not making money
Right.
on Disney Plus to begin with. So it's like, why even try? The Disney Plus shows were always very successful because, well, not very successful, but you know, like the first couple were
Yeah.
like very good because it was like, hey, so these are the characters that you love from the MCU, from the big screen. Now they're on their own TV show weekly, and we're gonna dig into them as a person, like this character, like Hawkeye. Here's Hawkeye. We're gonna talk about Hawkeye. This is stuff that Hawkeye has to deal with. This is his story.
Right.
This is
Right.
explains his character more. It digs into his character, his
Yeah.
backstory, his life, his everything. That's
Yeah. And it
great.
gives
It's
right. And it
great.
gives a foothold for a potential new hero, right? It's like does both.
Yeah.
It does a nice little bow, like a wrap up for
Mm-hmm.
him, like you're talking about. And
Yep.
it
And it
also is
starts
like,
Kate
hey,
Bishop.
Kate Bishop. Right, exactly.
Yeah. And now it's become this thing where they're just like, hey, so just like make another show. Like we just need to keep pumping out this crap. You know, pump out this
Yeah.
crap. Put whoever in it. You know, let's try to let's say it ties into the movie, but like it doesn't really tie into the movie. Because I guarantee
Nope.
you're gonna go see if you were to go see the Marvels movie. It's like, will they even
Yeah.
talk about anything that happened in the show? I don't know. Probably not. It's like, hey, so that president on Earth, he's crazy, right? Anyway, let's go deal with this situation out in space.
They're not even going to say that. They don't even
No.
know. They're not even going to talk about it.
That's what I mean. That's my example of Iron Man to Infinity War. Here's this story. We're tying the strings all the way across. Here's this string. Here's this pinpoint. Here's this thing. Here's this thing. And now we're in this era of Marvel, and it's become what my wife said it was going to be, and I told her she was crazy. After Infinity War, she said, "What's the point? Why do we even have any more Marvel stuff?" And I was like, "Comic books go on forever. There's always new stories. There's more characters.
Right.
There's going to be new Avengers." And now I see her point. I don't care about any new characters because that era is such a great era of all these little tiny details and moving pieces to a conclusion.
Right.
And now we're in this era where it's just like, I don't know. Just throw this in there. Give her a Drax arm. Have her have a leg, Hulk leg.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Oh man. I was very depressed after this episode, the season finale of this.
Me too.
It's just like,
Me too.
I just feel like Marvel's over, man.
I feel like we've been secretly invaded.
I feel, man. I feel like we've been invaded. But you know what the alternative of this is? The Flash.
I don't even know what movie you're talking about. So it's
no.
fine.
Oh, okay. So Chuck Berry.
Oh, Chuck Berry.
Yeah, it's an alternate universe.
Oh, I would watch that.
Chuck Berry. That sounds great. Oh my God.
The thing that I want any of your fans who watch this, if they go and see the Marvels, come back to this video and write in the comments below what Nick Fury's comment was in that movie when they're like, "Hey, Nick Fury, I didn't expect to see you here on the space station," and his line is, "Yeah, Earth has been real crazy right about now."
Earth be tripping, yo.
And that's just put that down below in the comment, and that's how they'll be like, "Hey, guess what? Secret Invasion ties into the Marvels."
It does, because you know where Nick Fury is? He's on the space station smooching a green lady. He is now.
She's not going to be in it. No, that's way too far.
Nick Fury is now the Captain Kirk of the MCU. There you go. I said it.
No, he's not. He's gonna be so well trimmed. His facial hair is gonna be so nicely trimmed. Yeah, and he's gonna say things like you said, "Earth be nuts." And that's it. That's it.
I
That's it.
I kind of like that scene, but I also could see like just how cheesy that stupid scene was, where he's like he goes and he gets Haven or what was it? Yeah,
The
the
harvest.
harvest. He gets the harvest and he goes into the tomb and he's like boop 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 boop, and the tomb like thing opens and it's like his jacket and his eye patch and he's like, oh, it's time to do this.
Dun,
It's
dun,
like,
dun,
oh
dun,
man.
dun, 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 dun.
Like, and then she's like, oh, I thought, how many of these tombs do you got? And he's like, oh, I got these tombs all over the place, baby. So he's got
I
an eye
wanted
patch.
to.
And he's,
You know that scene now? I'm gonna do it to you. You can't put it on here because it'll be copyright, right? And it's like, and then he'll
yeah.
be like, and then Doctor Strange walks in and he's like, "Is that everyone?" And Wong says, "No." And then it cuts to, and it's Nick Fury putting his eye patch on, and you're like, "Here he comes, boys! Here he comes!"
And he's just like,
Uh,
clip, clip, clip.
clip, clip, clip. I have my gun. I'm ready.
That's basically all Bucky does in the end. Infinity War. You have all these heroes and they're just like, oh, laser beam, laser beam. And then you got Bucky and he's just like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's why him and Rocket were hanging out because they were the only guys with guns.
Well, Rocket has like unlimited ammo. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, he
Well,
probably had like some cool cartridge to give him.
oh boy. Yeah, at least
You just
Guardians
got
3 was
secret
good.
invaded.
You just got invaded, bro. you well, yeah, so that is it. And Marvel's over. You heard it here first.
That was it. That's gonna be in the. That's gonna be the. Wait,
Go
hold on.
see
This will be our
Aquaman
thing.
2. Aquaman 2 looks great. Let's do it. DC all the way,
Whoa,
baby. All the way.
James Gunn, James Gunn, James. This will be ready. It'll be this. Do it with me, you know.
Yeah.
Go like this, and the title will be Marvel's dead.
Yeah.
That'll be your thumbnail.
Disney panics. Marvel CEO arrested for Disney. Kathleen Kennedy not fired.
Samuel Jackson beats up Don Cheadle on set.
Samuel L. Jackson says Disney's over. All right. Well, that is it. That is it for us. That's it for Infinity War. That's it for Marvel. That's it for Disney. See you guys next time. We cover more Disney stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. I rushed straight home. I didn't even take any other I didn't make any other stops.